So my topic today is conscious investing for peace of mind. Before I get into that, though, I wanted to mention a couple things. Did you hear about the story of the lady in New York who was in the rent-controlled apartment? Did you see about that story in the newspaper recently? Well, it was an interesting story. This lady was in a rent-controlled apartment in New York. And you know, New York has these rent-controlled places. And one day she got a letter and they were raising her rent. And this lady was retired. She was an older lady. She didn't know what to do. But she was a very good cook. She was a very good baker. So she made these little soft pretzels. And she was really good at it. So she decided she'd go down on the street. And if you've ever been in Manhattan, you see all those vendors in the streets in Manhattan. So she set up this table in front of her apartment building. And she put out her little soft pretzels. And she put out a cup that said 25 cents. And so people would come by and they'd buy her pretzels and they'd put in 25% and then they'd take their pretzel. One thing she noticed is there was a young man, very sharp looking guy, looked like a Wall Street stockbroker, you know, with a three-piece suit, very sharp looking. He'd come by her table and he'd put in 25 cents, but he wouldn't take a pretzel. And so she noticed that it happened one day, then it happened a second day, and then a third day. It went on for about a week. And then finally, one day she saw him coming up the street, and sure enough, he stopped by her table, he put in a quarter, and he kept walking. And so she came around the table and she said, "Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. So he turns around, he's walking back towards her, he says, "I know, you want to know why I keep putting a quarter into your cup and not taking a pretzel." And she said, No, I just wanted to let you know the price went up to 50 cents. Okay, let's see if my clicker is going to work here. One thing I've noticed, you know, I've been in the financial service industry, as Mark said, for 27 years. And, you know, what we're talking about today, obviously, is money, finances. But this afternoon, we're talking about families and relationships. And we know it's not about the money, right? In the end, it's about people. And it's about the relationships we have with people. Of course, the money doesn't hurt. But family and friends come first. I like what Woody Allen said. He said, "I'd rather be rich than poor, if just for financial reasons." So it is important. Money is important. It's a necessity of life. We're all confronted with it. And I see people all the time in my line of business. I happen to meet people a lot, and they come and see me, and I've dealt a lot with people over the years with their finances, their personal finance, and their investments. And the one thing I've noticed about investors is there's not very many investors that actually have peace of mind. A lot of people are worried about their investments. So the question is, if we want peace of mind, obviously when we're going to invest, we want to have peace of mind. So what is it? How can we find peace of mind? So if we look to where do most people go to get their financial advice, we see things like this. Smart Money magazine. I mean, how many times do we go through the checkout line at the store and we see these headlines? We get bombarded with these all the time. Find the next Cisco or Microsoft or Facebook, or get rich. You know, we see these messages. Or how about this one, Kiplinger's? Pick stocks like a pro. For only $2.95, I can learn how to pick stocks like a pro? Well, I'm buying that magazine. I'm on that, all over it. Or how about this one? In the 90s, when it was the go-go years of the 90s. You know, Newsweek. Everyone's getting rich but me. That's not fair. Where have I been? I feel like I've been an ostrich with my head in the sand. Why aren't I getting rich like everybody else? These are the messages that we get bombarded with all the time. And it's not just in the print media. We also now are getting it 24/7. It's 365 days a year. We're getting bombarded with these types of messages. We get them in the print media, we get them in books, we get them on the World Wide Web, we get them on the radio, we get them on the television. All these messages that we're being bombarded with. Now there's also an ugly side, or what I call the dark side also of the financial media, which is something like this. How scared should you be? Makes you feel really good, doesn't it? Or how about this one? Looking beyond the bear. These are intentionally created not to give peace of mind. What is the media really in the business to do, the financial media? Entertain, sell, what? Advertising. Are they really in the business to give us peace of mind? No. So, and I always tell this to my clients, the financial media is not the investor's friend. And when I first got into the business, I thought, well, if I help my clients, can everybody hear me okay back there? I'm loud enough? All right. Got my water here. By the way, we're going to have a little interaction. I'm trying to make this entertaining and interactive. I brought some English candy here today, and I'm going to be giving some of this away. And actually, I'd like to honorarily give the first piece of candy to our grandfather with the most kids. Right. Mark, you get the first one. It's English candy because one of my partners is from England. He's from Yorkshire, and he has a really weird accent. So we always give away candy at our events. So. But what I was saying was that I always felt if I help my clients to understand how to invest prudently and how to earn a good return on their money and not take a lot of risk, that they'd have a lot of peace of mind. And what I found was that was not always the case. So I'll give you an example, 2 different clients that I've had over the years. One was Louise. Now Louise had actually probably the largest portfolio of one of my clients. She had about $3 million in her portfolio. But the thing about Louise is she was always nervous about her money. She was always feeling stressed out, concerned, worried. I get calls from her like twice a month. Ray, is my money okay? Do you think the market's going to go down? Are interest rates going to drop? I'm worried. And even though she was living on like $30,000 a year. She had $3 million. She was living on $30,000 of it. You know how much that is? She's living on how much? 1% of her money, and she's worried. On the other hand, I've got other clients, and it was a sweet lady. Louise is just the sweetest person, one of my clients. But even though she had a lot of money, she didn't have peace of mind. Now, here's another client, Ellen and Phil, wonderful couple, in their 80s, children, grandchildren. They had about 1/3 of that money that Louise had. But you know what? A funny thing is, you remember when the market dropped about a month ago in August? Yeah. And China had its problems, and then Greece had its problems, and the market dropped about 10 to 12%. And one day, Ellen, so this is Ellen and Phil, she called me. She said, Ray. And I said, well, hi, Ellen. How are you? And I was thinking, oh, maybe she's worried the market dropped 12%. She said, Ray, the market's down. And I said, yes. And she said, I have some money, and I want to put more money in the market. And I go, okay, Ellen, sure, no problem. Well, she said, I want to bring a check by. I said, okay, well, when do you want to bring it by? She said, I'll be there in 10 minutes. She understood, she had peace of mind about her money. They were doing planning. They've done trusts for their grandchildren, and they've done a lot of planning. So the thing I found out is that, thing I discovered is that money does not necessarily equate to peace of mind. So it seems like the financial industry, in my opinion, it kind of creates an illusion that there's people that can pick what's going to happen or predict what's going to happen. You ever notice that? You see people there, these gurus are kind of paraded on television. So what's going to happen to the market next year, Mr. Smith? And they give you this prediction. But really, in my opinion, this is really kind of an illusion. Everybody know who this is?
David Copperfield.
David Copperfield, very good. And what does he do?
Magic.
He's a magician, right? Okay, so we're going to he's actually an illusionist. So we're going to do a little illusion here. Sidel,
Yes.
my buddy.
Okay, buddy.
This is a cloth, right? This is my magic cloth.
Okay.
So feel it, touch it.
Yeah.
Is it a real
Fabric.
cloth?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my fist here, and then I'm going to ask someone to help me for a minute here. Get it there. And I need some help from someone in the audience to blow on my hands here. Who can do that? Can you? Okay. 1, 2, 3. I'm a what? It always helps, though, if you have a fake finger. So that's an illusion, right? That is an illusion, and that's what goes on a lot in the financial industry. Now, one of the things, that we have probably a fair mix of our baby boomers here and also our younger people, our millennials. How many millennials are here in the room? Okay. Millennial would means you were born between 1980 and 2000. Okay, Jake, you have to admit it, right? By the way, for the help with the trick, you get, can you catch? There you go. English candy. But here's the thing. The state of our economy, the state of finances today is that, here's the thing I have to say or communicate with our younger people. Being financially independent or being financially aware, or the title of this little presentation, conscious, being financially conscious is not just kind of a good idea, or maybe it might be something that we should take a look at, but it's really something you have to do. You have to become aware, and here's one of the big reasons why. You see what that is? That is the U.S. debt clock. You see these numbers up here? Those are not like $10 bills or $50 bills or $100 bills or $1,000 bills. Those are millions of dollars that our government is going into debt at this very minute. That's live. You can see this. You see these numbers down here? So that's a serious issue, right? I mean, if we're spending more money, we're spending more money than we're taking in, at some point, something's going to happen. At some point, something's got to give. So our country has a lot of what are called entitlements. That's our national debt right now, $18 trillion. By the way, does anybody know a trillion? If you just take a trillion seconds and you go back in time, okay, for another English candy, who could guess? The closest person gets another candy bar. Paul?
32,000 years.
How many?
32,000.
Wow, 29,000 years. 29,000 years BC is 1 trillion seconds. The United States government is $18 trillion in debt. So every taxpayer owes about $154,000. Social Security, does everybody know for the millennials what Social Security is? It's an income check that you get once you get full retirement age, which is age 66. That is $14 trillion underfunded. Medicare, which is health insurance for anyone turns age 65 or older, $27 trillion underfunded. Our total unfunded liabilities are $97 trillion. Our total economy every year is only $15 trillion. So we're looking at $97 trillion. That's $819,000 for every single person in this room that we owe for all of our liabilities. So let me ask you a question. Because that's kind of a depressing thought, but there's things you can do about it, right? I'm not here to depress you. I'm here to inspire you. I hope, Mark, are going to do that. So let's think about it for a minute. How is wealth really created? You think about the different ways. So, source of financial independence. Really, there's only 3 ways to create wealth that have ever been invented, that I know of. That is to own a business, to own real estate, like Mark and Jin Kwan were talking about, okay, or to own equities. Okay, now I'm going to talk a little bit about the equities. This afternoon, Mark was going to talk about real estate, and Jack and Haneo and Akemi and Sammy are going to talk about businesses, and Bob and Randy are going to be talking about other areas of developing yourself and your careers. But when I talk about equities, we're talking about what? We're talking about stocks. Okay, when you own, and when we talk about stocks, what are we talking about? Paul, you know the answers already. No fair. Paul's giving the presentation next, so Paul can probably answer all these questions. Yes, Adam.
Kind of like owning part of a business, I guess you call it.
Yeah. When you own a stock, you are a part owner of the company. So you are entitled to some of the returns if the company has a profit. And that's what stocks is. So where is the optimism really today? You know, you see a lot of negative things in the media and we get bombarded with it. You ever felt like that? That's like you wake up and it's like you don't even want to watch the news because it's so bad. But there is optimism.
One of our most enduring mistakes is overestimating the economy's troubles and underestimating the economy's progress. Human beings dwell on problems, failures, and tragedies, and take solutions, successes, and triumphs for granted. I call this pessimistic bias. Recession, unemployment, bankruptcy, stagnation. We'll never run out of complaints about the economy in a country of hundreds of millions and a world of billions. Still, the big picture is amazingly sunny. Let's start with the biggest picture of all, the world. Before the 20th century, human beings were extremely poor. In 1900, the world had about 1.5 billion people, typically living less than 50 years. Famed economic historian Angus Madison estimated that the average citizen of Earth survived on under $1,000 a year. In 2012, we've got about 7 billion people, typically living almost 70 years on about $8,000 a year. It gets better. Money today buys stuff that would have astounded emperors and industrialists in 1900. Many of the goods we take for granted, like planes, medicine, cell phones, and internet, were unavailable at any price. They simply didn't exist. The world economy has slowed during the last few years, but overall progress is still astounding. World income per person grew about 33% from 1998 to 2008, way faster than during the previous 3 decades. The fraction of people on Earth who live in dire poverty has been cut in half, from about 40% in 1991 to about 20% in 2012. Sure, that's 20% too many, but we're well on our way to a future of plenty for all, a future that human beings have always dreamed of, but never seen. All right, forget recent decades of American progress. What about the United States economy right now? It's clearly disappointing. Real income per person rose by a relatively grim 7% from 2001 to 2011. But that's not stagnation, and certainly not decline. And as usual, we have some amazing new products that used to exist only in imagination. Before 2005, you couldn't have watched this video on YouTube because there was no YouTube. Human beings have struggled to improve the world for centuries. If these mighty efforts had really given us only stagnation and decline, it would probably be time to give up in despair. But happily, that's not the case. Economic progress has been shockingly swift for over a century. The mighty efforts of billions of people to better their lives are paying off around the world. While there's still plenty of room for improvement, we have much to be grateful for, and there's every reason to think that the best is yet to come.
So what are the rules of investing? Who can give me a couple rules? Anybody? Volunteers? Sidel.
Buy low, sell high.
Oh yeah. Way to go.
Thank you.
Okay. Another one. Jake.
Have a long-term perspective.
Yes. All right. There you go. Okay, good. Another one. Rules of investing. Yes, ma'am. This lovely lady here. Pardon me?
Smaller loss and bigger profit.
Smaller loss and bigger profit. That's kind of like buy low, sell high, right? Anybody else? Yes.
There's a sort of a real estate one. I don't know if it's generic enough, but it's make the first buck, not the last buck.
Okay.
Have you ever heard that before?
Okay, yeah. Anybody else? Any final one? Yes. Diversification! Dude, way to go. All right. The rules of investing are number one, own equities. So what does that mean? It means own stocks. Okay, now that's a scary thing for a lot of people. I don't want to get into stocks because what happens if I lose all my money? Okay, so I'm not recommending you go out and do stock picking. That's not what I'm saying. But if you own equities, if you are owner of company, and secondly, you diversify, like the young man just said. Diversification means you own things that don't move in the same direction. And thirdly is, Sidel, buy low and sell high. But to do that on automatic pilot, because for most investors, it's very difficult to do. When they see their portfolio or their stock going up and up, what do they think? They think it's going to keep going up. And then when it goes down, they go, oh, gosh darn it, I should have sold it when it was up. Okay, I got to move along here. So this is a sample of a diversified portfolio. That's a globally diversified portfolio with about 12,000 individual stocks. So there's 3 strategies for peace of mind. First is raise your consciousness. Now when I'm talking about consciousness, we're not talking about the spiritual type of consciousness. I'm talking about the consciousness that you're aware of what you're doing, how you're investing, what your expectations are, and that you understand what's going on, that you kind of build a little bit of armor so that you're not thrown around or whiplash by the financial media. And also seek out coaching and mentoring. And finally, learn the answers to the 20 must-answer questions. Now, I'm not going to go into the 20 must-answer questions today. We're just going to focus on those 3 things first. So the first strategy to attain peace of mind is raising your consciousness. How do we do that? The definition is aware of oneself as a thinking being, knowing what one is doing and why. Now, the opposite of consciousness is what? Unconsciousness, okay? Taking actions without awareness of what you are doing and why. And there's also unconscious action. Have you ever done this before where you're driving down the freeway and suddenly you're on your cell phone? You're not supposed to be, but you are. Or maybe you're on your Bluetooth and you're talking to someone, and then suddenly you're talking about the kids or groceries or picking up something or whatever, doctor's appointment, and then suddenly you just realized you missed your exit, like three lights back. Okay, anyone have that happen ever? Okay, that's unconscious. That's our unconscious mind, meaning it's only a small part of our brain. We can drive the car fine with just a small part of our brain, but it's our unconscious part that is driving the car. Then we have what is called unconscious thought or mind chatter. Anybody have mind chatter? You know what that is? All day long. Mind chatter is this. We joke around about this around our house. Mind chatter, especially on Monday morning when you have to go back to work. There's a lot of mind chatter going on. So I can speak like 150 words a minute, but actually our brains can absorb or can process about 50,000 thoughts a day. So even though I'm speaking at 100 and 150 words a minute, probably you're probably thinking, I wouldn't doubt it, some people thinking, what's for dinner tonight? Now you're still listening to me, but our minds are going, right? Or am I the only one like that? So there's 4 ways to raise our consciousness. First of all, become more aware of yourself and your environment. Recognize and challenge this mind chatter, the negative mind chatter, because psychologists say that this mind chatter starts to build a home if we let it. And the way to change that mind chatter is to work on and changing our unconscious mind chatter to conscious. Bring it to the consciousness and then you can change it. The third is replace negative thoughts with positive ones. And finally is get the facts. If you know the facts, like my client Ellen and Phil, they knew the facts. When the market went down, what did Ellen think? It was what? It was a buying opportunity. What do most investors do? They hit the exits. This is going to go down. It's going to crash. I got to get out. I'm going to cash. In 2009, the market hit if you don't follow the Dow, I'm sure some of you probably don't remember, but the Dow in 2009 hit the bottom at that time. Remember with the big economic recession and everything? It got to about 6,500, the Dow. Okay? That week, $21 billion was sold out of the market and went into cash. Within 120 days, the market had recovered from that point about 30% of its value. The market comes back at light speed. Trying to time the market, getting in and getting out, is a loser's game. You just have to say that. It doesn't work. And investors lose billions of dollars trying to do that. So you got to get the facts. You got to arm yourself. So here's what I call the bachelor's level investor reading. How many here have read one of these books? Woo! All right. So we've got Think and Grow Rich, The Millionaire Next Door, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, and Automatic Millionaire. How many have read 2 of these books? Very good. How about 3 of these books? Woo! Okay. 4 of the books. Anyone 5 of the books? No. Okay, Mark, you got one. And Don. And who else was it that read? Sidell? Who? You read 3. Okay. Then there's the master's level investor reading. Main Street Money, The Truth About Money, Above the Demanding Crowd, The Investment Answer, Simple Wealth, Inevitable Wealth. Anybody read one of these books? No, that's no fair because I pushed him to read it.
Which one?
Which one did you read, Elliot?
Main Street Money and Above the Demanding Crowd.
Okay, you read 2 of them. Okay, you'll get your candy when you get home. And then there's the PhD level investing, which is F.A. Hayek, The Road to Serfdom, Random Walk Down Wall Street. You read Atlas Shrugged. We got some Atlas Shrugged here. I'm telling you, Atlas Shrugged, that's heavy lifting, Atlas Shrugged, isn't it? And I know Joe Lee. Where's Joe? Is Joe still here? No, he read Atlas Shrugged. Okay, I got a few more. Okay, Susan, here you go. Sorry. Yeah, I'll get it to you. And what we're going to do is this, and I'm going to kind of end my talk because we only have a couple minutes, but we'll talk more about it, and I'm around all day, so if you have any questions, feel free to come and talk with me, ask me questions. I'll take questions on anything. The other thing is I wanted to let you know is that we're starting as kind of a heading of Project Fusion. This is called the Millennial Millionaires Club. So if you're here and you have children or you have millennials at home who couldn't make it today because they're working or they're going to school or whatever, they can join this Millennial Millionaires Club, and we will host seminars, live seminars like this, where we take a little bit more time to go into depth. There'll also be some real estate training from Mark, and we'll have webinars, monthly newsletter, we'll have a blog. So I'm going to have Elliot pass these out. And anybody who would like to sign up or have your family members sign up, feel free to do so. Here's one other thing. So a lot of people say, well, gosh, I don't have time to read 15 books. Are you kidding me? I got to work. I'm going to school. You what? You got to watch television, right. Well, here's a little tip. You ready for this? Everybody take out a pencil. You're going to write this down. Okay, you ready? Ready for the secret? Audible.com. Okay, how many are on Audible? Already, yeah, you're way ahead. Audible is great. If you have one of these, this is called an iPod. It's an iPod, iPhones. This is one of the greatest pieces of technology ever created, I feel. I've got a lot of books on my iPod, and I encourage you, someone, I was talking with Elliot this morning, one of the people he was listening to said, turn your car into a classroom. If you're driving to work or driving to school, you don't have time to sit and read a book, you can just tune in to download these books onto your iPod. You can listen to them anytime you want. It's like $14.95 a month, and the credits roll over, so they accumulate. And get coaching. We're here today, Mark said, really it's to network and to find a coach, to find mentoring. I've had a lot of coaches in my lifetime. Here's the list of my coaches. I was thinking about this yesterday. I was thinking, how many mentors have I had during my career? Take a look at this. Those are just the mentors that I can think of that I've had over the past 25 years. These are the ones that just came to my mind. There's probably more than this. So the thing that I would like to communicate to you is this, is that never be afraid to ask someone for help. Always seek out someone. It's called best practices. If you see someone who has the success that you would like to have, go and talk to that person. Call them, email them, go meet them. That's the way, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel yourself. So I thank you for your time. I'm going to hand over the speaking to Mark, and any questions, I'll be around. Thank you very much.